This video will demonstrate the correct installation and tightening procedure for anchor rods of lighting structures within the Minnesota Department of Transportation. Lighting structures can range in height from 30 feet to 50 feet and can either be a simple pole with a luminaire mounted at the top or have one or two luminaire arms. High-mast light towers can also be considered lighting structures, however, will be further detailed in another video. Anchor rods for lighting structures can range from 3/4 inch to 1 1/4 inches in diameter and can be grade 36, 55, or 105. Base plates for these structures can range from 3/8 of an inch to 1 1/4 inches in diameter. This video will walk through the correct tightening procedure for a stainless steel light pole with 4 anchor rods tightened with a double nut moment connection. Throughout the installation procedure, the contractor should be referencing MnDOT's high-strength anchor rod installation record and should be familiar with it before the in-field installation. This form outlines the installation procedure for the anchor rods and nuts and verifies that the procedure is done correctly. As the contractor completes each step, he or she should mark either yes or no under the question column on the form. This ensures that the contractor has followed the procedure correctly and the nuts are fully tightened on the anchor rods. Step 1 of the installation form requires contractors to verify that the anchor rods, nuts, and washers are the correct type, size, and grade for the project. In the case of this installation, the anchor rods are 1 inch in diameter, Type B, grade 55 steel. The nuts should conform to ASTM A563 standards, and the washers should conform to F436 standards, unless otherwise specified by the project engineer. When the contractor has verified that the anchor rods, nuts, and washers are correct, he or she can mark yes under column 2 of the installation form, and may continue to step 2. Step 2 of the installation form requires contractors to verify that the anchor rods are clean, plumb, and undamaged. MnDOT specifies that the anchor rods must have less than a 1:40 slope to be considered plumb. If the rods are out of plumb or damaged, the contractor must contact the project engineer. The contractor should not move forward with the installation if the rods are not suitable for the job. Once the contractor has completed Step 2, he or she can mark yes on the installation form and may continue to Step 3. The third step of the installation process is to lubricate the anchor rods, nuts, and washers. MnDOT specifies that Bostik Never Seize Mariner's Choice is the required anti-seize and lubricating compound to be used for MnDOT anchor rod installation projects. The outside, exposed threads of the anchor rods and the bearing surfaces of all nuts and washers must be lubricated. These surfaces should be lubricated directly before the installation. After ensuring that all rods, nuts, and washers are properly lubricated, the contractor can then turn the leveling nut down towards the foundation. The nuts should run easily down the anchor rods. Once the contractor has completed this step, he or she can mark yes on the installation form and may continue to Step 4. The fourth step of the installation process is to level the bottom nuts, referred to as leveling nuts. The leveling nuts should all be aligned to the same elevation. The distance from the top of the foundation to the bottom of the leveling nuts should be less than 1 bolt diameter, unless otherwise specified. The contractor should use standoff distances provided by the manufacturer or in contract documents. However, if a standoff distance is not provided, then the contractor should use the AASHTO recommended clearance distance of less than or equal to 1 bolt diameter. In this particular light pole installation, the manufacturer requires a special standoff distance. The contractor may measure a feasible distance on the 4 corner nuts, and then align all other bottom nuts to this elevation. Once it is ensured that the bottom nuts are leveled at the correct distance, the contractor can mark yes on the installation form and may continue to Step 5. Step 5 requires contractors to snug tighten all nuts. After ensuring that the bottom nuts are level, the contractor can install a lubricated structural washer on top of each nut, followed by the installation of the base plate and support. Next, lubricated washers can be placed onto the anchor rods on top of the base plate, and finally, the top nuts can be turned onto the anchor rods. The contractor must next snug tighten the top nuts. Tables 1 and 2 should be referenced to obtain the correct snug tightening information. If the contractor is utilizing a hydraulic wrench or torque wrench, Table 1 specifies the snugging torque to use for installation. Otherwise, the contractor can reference Table 2 for the correct length of wrench needed for snugging. For a 1-inch diameter anchor rod that is grade 55 steel, the contractor needs to use a 12-inch long wrench. The contractor should snug tighten the top nuts of all anchor rods following the star pattern. 2 examples of star patterns are provided on the installation form. For structures having 4 anchor rods, the contractor should complete the star pattern as follows. The contractor should first choose an anchor rod to be the starting point, and snug tighten the top nut fully. Next, the contractor should snug tighten the nut on the anchor rod that is diagonal from the starting anchor rod. The third nut to be tightened is on the anchor rod next to the first. Finally, the last nut to be snug tightened is diagonal from the third, and next to the second. After snug tightening the top nuts, the contractor snug tightens the leveling nuts utilizing the same star pattern. This tightening can be done with an open-end wrench and should be completed in 2 cycles. Once the contractor has completed snug tightening all nuts, he or she can mark yes for Step 5 on the installation form and may continue to Step 6. Step 6 requires the contractor to fully tighten the top nuts using the turn of nut required. The required turns are listed in Table 1. For a 1-inch anchor rod, 1/18 of a turn is needed. To achieve this turn correctly, first the contractor marks one corner of a nut and the adjacent anchor rod or base plate. Each face of a nut is equivalent to 1/6. Therefore, the contractor must next turn the nut until approximately 1/3 of the next face is lined up with the marking made on the base plate. The turn of nut process should be completed using the same star pattern as used in Step 5 of the installation process. Additionally, the turn of nut process should be completed in 2 cycles. Therefore, the contractor should aim to reach approximately half of the required turn of nut on the first cycle and reach the full turn of nut on the second cycle of tightening. The required turn should not be exceeded. Once the contractor has completed the turn of nut, he or she can mark yes on the installation form and may continue to Step 7. Next, using a torque wrench, the contractor should check that the top nuts are fully tightened using the verification torque. For this particular light pole, a verification torque of 200 foot-pounds is required. If the verification torque has been achieved, then the nut is fully tightened. If the verification torque is not achieved, continue to tighten the nut until it is. Do not exceed the verification torque. An inability to achieve the verification torque may indicate thread stripping. After the verification torque has been achieved, the contractor can mark yes on the installation form under Step 7 and may continue to Step 8. Step 8 of the installation form instructs contractors to apply a retightening torque to the top nuts 48 hours after initial tightening. This retightening torque accounts for any creep in the galvanizing of the threads. The retightening torque is 110% of the tightening torque and is listed in Table 1. If the retightening torque has been achieved, the installation process is complete. If the retightening torque has not been achieved, continue to tighten the nut until it is. Do not exceed the retightening torque. Once the contractor has completed the final step, he or she can mark Yes on the installation form. To finalize the installation process, the contractor should ensure that all areas of the installation form are filled out completely. This includes verification of all steps outlined in the installation procedure: the make, model, and serial number of the torque or hydraulic wrench utilized in the installation, the calibration date of the hydraulic wrench if utilized, the structure and project ID numbers, and the contractor name. Additionally, both the contractor and a MnDOT representative should sign and date the form. If there are any comments, such as issues encountered during the installation, the contractor should note them on the form. If the contractor has any questions about the installation procedure after reading the installation form, he or she should contact the MnDOT project engineer before the installation. It is important that the contractors follow the installation procedure correctly. Ensuring that anchor rods and nuts are properly installed not only minimizes future retightening efforts, but ensures that the public is safe. Thank you.